how do I actually put AI into real work that's happening at the desk level? That is what we're seeing our customers need and want and come talk to us about all the time right now. People are starting to see the opportunity for real agentic AI, where the software is actually doing things in applications that a brokerage might be running, moving data around, preparing documents.
Welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Sandy Laycox, Editor-in-Chief of Leader's Edge. In this episode, sponsored by Zywave, I talk with Eric Rentsch, Zywave's Chief Product Officer and Head of Emerging Markets, on site at the 2026 Employee Benefits Leadership Forum. We start our conversation where two key industry topics emerge: filling the talent gap and incorporating AI into operational work.
I love talking about this because I think there's way too many headlines about how AI is going to displace jobs or take away work or, disrupt what was, highly valued human labor in the past. And what I would say is, like, our industry doesn't have that problem. Our industry has we don't have enough people to service the premium growth problem. If you look at the math, most insurance markets, not just employee benefits, are growing premium costs due to underlying risks increasing at 7 or 8%. And if you do that over 10 years and labor growth goes by, 1.5% to 2%, everybody has to do double the work. That's like the gap that forms. We have that on top of another challenge, which is a lot of our workforce is going to retire in the next 10 to 15 years. So something like half, 50% of people that are really steeped in this profession will retire, move on, and have fun with grandkids and everything else they might have going on. And so we just don't have enough young people actually coming into this industry. Not a new problem. People have talked about it for a long time. I think great things have been done to coach, grow, and bring in talent, but it's just not enough to actually keep up with the size and scale of the business. So when I hear people talk about what AI could do, conversations I have with CIOs, CTOs, presidents of insurance agencies, owners of insurance agencies and brokerages, large carriers, they see this as a real critical time for them to invest in new technologies, of which AI is a huge boon to adding time back into people's day. And it's not a discussion about how this could lower labor cost or, shift their cost structure. It's really how they can keep up with the growth that the industry is seeing, which is very encouraging. I mean, that's different than what you hear in a lot of other industries. And I think that makes it exciting and fun to work in, and partially why I enjoy it so much.
We then discuss the process of embedding AI into existing workflows and whether the industry is effectively doing this yet.
Well, I think there's lots of hype and lots of discussion and lots of, tool exploration and software exploration. There are some very real things because of how this technology gets deployed that have to be done in order for it to have the type of impact that we were just talking about, where it's really going to help augment capacity, and somebody could manage a book of clients that's, double the size they have today and not be completely burnt out. I think I'll take this in a couple of ways. Where people are at today, most of our clients that we talk to are still trying to shift from like pilot and exploration mode to full production deployment. That's very much a common pattern. Some a little bit further along, some a little bit further behind, but everybody's still kind of needing to transition into full-blown production deployment. Carriers maybe a little bit further along than others, especially in things like claims processing. But when we think of the front of house, the distribution, the point of quote, the point of submission, that's all still very early days, which is where we spend a lot of our time with our technology tools and helping our clients. Interesting tidbit, the two major players in the foundation models, Anthropic and OpenAI, both in the last couple of weeks just announced a joint venture with large capital market providers, like Hellman and Friedman, Goldman Sachs, where they're deploying this new role called a forward deployed engineer, an FDE. And the whole point of that is basically to say, how do I actually put AI into real work that's happening at the desk level? And that is what we're seeing our customers need and want and come talk to us about all the time right now. So this is not how do I put a chatbot on my employee's desk and have them ask a question that's like, hey, what's the latest regulatory update from, the state of Montana around employee notifications at point of termination? That is a use case, sure, but not the like novel big one. What people are starting to see the opportunity for is real agentic AI, where the software is actually doing things in applications that a brokers might be running, moving data around, preparing documents, structuring information for a renewal, helping pre-write, a summary plan doc or open enrollment materials for employees to use some benefit-specific examples. And that requires good structured data and real clarity around what that workflow looks like when it's done well. But those are really just starting. Like people are starting to see that potential, and those are real time savers. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is not I have to answer this question. It's like that might be 6 hours of work that you could do in 20 minutes and put real capacity back into the business. That's super exciting for us. Zywave has a very forward-leaning agentic AI platform strategy. We're putting this on top of our solutions. I think one of the things I enjoy most about working for Zywave in this capacity is that we have a lot of proprietary data and content that we can put into those workflows. Like doing a workflow well means you need the context about what a client needs or what is necessary to actually fulfill that task. A simple example might be, when I structure a plan design for a client, I need some benchmark data to give them guidance on how much to contribute or, what the average deductible might be for competing employers in their market. If you don't have that, it's very hard to automate the process of actually generating a proposal for a customer because you need that insight to be able to say, here's how to do that work.
In conversations with brokers, Eric learns of the real roadblocks to effective AI implementation and shares strategies to overcome them.
When you're talking to brokers and the folks that you're meeting with here on site, are they sharing with you particular roadblocks or areas where in this area they're struggling with to get to where you're saying they need to be?
Yeah, definitely. I maybe two ways I'll answer that. One, we need to continue to mature the systems in our industry and the availability of APIs. This is a little techie, but I'm a product guy, so I like it. So we'll go into it. The way a model would use a piece of software to augment somebody's daily work is something called an MCP, which is like a connector. And so if I were to use ChatGPT to say, hey, I want to order an Uber, and it would bring me an Uber, right? What it would do is take that prompt that I gave it and translate it into an API call to Uber. And then Uber would order the car, and then, ChatGPT could respond and tell me what was happening. That would use an MCP connector. Our industry needs to build those. Like we're on a journey right now. We got to build a ton of these MCP connectors out. A lot of those are brand new technology in the last 12 months. And you'll see players like Verisk announced they have an MCP platform they just launched. Zywave has an MCP platform that we're launching. So that's a big undertaking that needs to happen just to enable the type of connectivity that we're talking about. That also assumes you have APIs. I mean, 5 years ago, I was talking to carriers about how they needed more APIs for quoting and rating. That's all not done. It's not like that. Mission accomplished. We now need to move on to MCP. It's like you need both. So everybody still has to enhance all that infrastructure. So that's a big gap. Just broad bucket, technology maturity and readiness to deploy into agentic workflows. The second thing that I'll mention is the ability, just like if you were bringing a new employee into a business, this is a good way to think about augmenting AI into a workflow. You need ways in which you can onboard that tool or capability. It needs context. Just like if I hired somebody, I have to teach them about my business and about our relationships and the way we serve clients and our methodologies and our approaches. You have to give it all that context. So that information material might be in everybody's heads, and it needs to be written down and packaged up in a way that it could get built into an AI deployment. Further to that, you need the how do I know this capability that's operating in my business is performing at the level I want it to. You need to measure that, and that's evaluations and quality controls. All those have to get built, and those are very client specific. Like Zywave can't say, for some things we can define it, but they're going to vary by customer, where they say, well, this is the level of tolerance for accuracy or inaccuracy that we're okay with in this particular workflow with this particular type of buyer. So forming that opinion is another thing that we're seeing a lot of clients try to figure out right now.
When you're talking with brokers and about their use of AI and employing these tools, are you finding that there's sort of full-blown strategy behind, or are you finding that really needs to be part of the conversation more?
Yeah, I think that everybody's learning a new technology in the last couple of years, and I think there's a lot of grace for exploring that and figuring that out. But there's certainly an element of like me too, oh yes, of course we're doing AI things that's underway. And I think taking a step back and to our earlier conversation, what are the areas of the most constraint your business has in terms of capacity? If I would encourage a brokerage or a carrier to say, if we're having a really hard time filling role, like we can't hire fast enough for fill in the blank function, that's your first starting point for your AI strategy. That's where you should point your energy and attention and say, okay, what could we do to augment the efficiency of that existing team to transform the way they're doing work? Could we streamline the process of extracting data from renewal presentations from last year to build out, the contribution model for the next plan year? Or could we streamline our open enrollment communication preparation materials? Pick a task, but have a concerted opinion about the organization and where you have the most constraints in your team that's going to support your growth. And that I see people forming, but it's everybody could do a little more of that.
I then ask Eric about the ROI coming from AI investments and what can be measured at this point.
And we know the big goal is create more efficiency, right? So we just discussed that with the talent gap and how to kind of lessen the hours it takes to do some of those things. Are you at a point where you all are able to sort of say, here's the ROI that we're seeing? Or is it too early to sit with brokers and tell them that? Or
This is fairly new. Sorry, I jumped in because I was so excited.
Oh, good.
This is fairly new. Last 6 months, we've started to see real proof points for this. And this is where Zywave also differentiates itself a bit. We're going in and the starting point is often, hey, we don't have enough producers to drive the organic growth number that we need. And when we do hire producers, 1 out of 2 of them actually don't work out a year later. And so that's your talent problem. That's your talent gap. So how can we be more efficient? But if we can also help them with the effectiveness, we can really unlock growth for this organization in a scalable way. So we've deployed our first agentic solution is called a producer agent. It augments what a producer's prospecting and outreach activity would look like, writes emails for them, identifies leads for them, preps them for a meeting, does research on a prospect for them, and does that at scale. And we've seen really incredible engagement from market recipients. Like a lot of people I talked to this about initially are like, I don't know, there's so much AI noise in the world. Like, do you really need more marketing? What that overlooks is if you can be very targeted with the way you tailor a message to a buyer, it's a much more delightful experience to be prospected to when it's brought from a place of, my business. You understand the challenges that my law firm is facing in Philadelphia, trying to recruit associates or transform the way we work and our, labor and retention challenges, or the way our technology business in San Francisco is, hiring new talent and trying to attract the best people. So that's really difficult for a producer to do at scale. And so giving them the technology that helps provide that kind of bespoke engagement in their outreach is hugely impactful. So to answer your question, yes, we actually see that in the data. Things like our open rates and click-through rates, response rates, and meeting occurrence rates are way higher than even we expected, which is very encouraging because it's solving an efficiency problem and it's actually better. Like it's getting us a better result in market with great receptivity.
We then discuss the use of AI in personal lines insurance distribution and the public perception of broker value stemming from that.
So Zywave does a lot of rating and connectivity. So we serve as the pipes between carriers and brokers and all different insurance markets. So group benefits, personal lines, commercial lines. And so we're very, very close to this particular use case. And I have a few opinions. So the process of getting somebody coverage is an exchange of information to form a contract, right? The ability to use AI to make that information exchange better, faster, higher fidelity, that's a thing. Like, that will happen. I think creating a way for a consumer to communicate with a buyer, this could happen in open enrollment and employee benefits. I think that could be a thing. So that is real. What everybody freaked out about was the idea that this is going to now be where transactions bind. And I think what that commonly overlooks is insurance has an element of friction to it for good reason. There needs to be this fidelity of information for a carrier to have good confidence about what they're underwriting. And low friction, high velocity digital channels invites a certain high risk buyer. I need insurance now is like kind of a red flag, actually. So this is going to displace the act of a broker serving as an intermediary, giving advice to a buyer, whether that's a CHRO or a CFO or a consumer, for a product that's infrequently bought and poorly understood most of the time. That's still a thing. And that doesn't get replaced. And you need a real advisor and an intermediary serving in this capacity. I mean, we've heard people talk about replacing brokers for like years. This is not a new trope. But I don't think it's any truer than it was in 2001 when e-commerce started. But like all things, there's a shade of truth to it, which is, can you create a low friction way for somebody engaging in coverage? Can a CHRO research benefit plans and come into a conversation with a broker much more educated about their plan design? Yeah, that's going to happen. And you need a producer that's that much more effective and prepared for that conversation to engage a buyer in the most thoughtful way.
Finally, some key takeaways from Eric's perspective.
I think the number one thing I would take away is we need to realize that this technology works when it is deployed effectively and can have massive, massive impact on an organization. If the leadership team, if the management team, if IT or the business, if folks are still sort of like, I don't know if this is a thing, let's keep piloting, 12 months from now, that will be very behind. There are folks that have realized and found that this works, and they're actively deploying it, and it is addressing very real problems. So I'm encouraging people to explore it more, but have the confidence that it works and lean in. I think that's my number one takeaway, especially after the conversations this week. There's a lot of, yeah, it's a thing, and maybe it's a thing. It's very real, and look for ways to take advantage of it. And I think that will compound in more learnings and more impact in an organization over the next several years. So that'd be my number one takeaway.
That was Eric Rentsch, Zywave's Chief Product Officer and Head of Emerging Markets, on site at the 2026 Employee Benefits Leadership Forum. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. For more of our podcasts, visit leadersedge.com or stream us wherever you find podcasts.